you can now screen record and show the AI what you want to do. So you move your mouse, you click on that, say, I want you to take that and do that and that, and it will know what you're doing.
You reckon there's something going on in AI with your advice practice? What's the go? What have you learned?
I mean, yeah, probably going to give away a whole bunch of IP here, but the developments in the AI space coming thick and fast, and the abilities of these AIs are just like expanding week by week, and it's been quite fascinating for me reading through all the product releases and all. That's the sort of stuff I do, right? If I'm interested in something, I just go into it and sort of just ruffle through, pull things out, play around, get my hands dirty so I understand the kind of inner workings of it. And some of the stuff that's happening now is game changing. So from not just the insurance business, but across any business, the tasks that it can do are like unreal. And so, looking across different things, it can proactively do stuff now, whereas before, I think most people's understanding of like large language models are, type in your prompt or your question and it spits out a general answer. But when you can start getting inside of the actual AI and start editing pieces and changing things around, it changes the whole scope of everything. It's unbelievable.
Interesting, yeah, because I mean, I haven't really put any time into it other than I have a software high level where you can train a bot to lead nurture. So someone comes in through WhatsApp or whatever, and it can talk to them. You can train it how you want to talk to it, and then it'll book it in your calendar for you. Or you could have, like, if you can't answer the phone, they can answer it and they could talk and then catch their details and stuff. And then the last thing I've done recently is create a survey. So there was, I think it's 2 to the power of 8 possibilities, which is a lot of possibilities. And I would have had to draw it out the different email workflows. But with AI, I just went, if they answer this, include this in the email. So now they answer yes or no questions and then get a custom report based on the biggest risks in their business. But yeah, how are you using it? What was the use case that you're like, oh yeah?
So the first one is, I guess other insurance advisors will kind of understand this one. So when you have a policy anniversary, right, the insurance company will send you a PDF with their updated policy schedule, and it has all the information in there, your life insurance, income protection, and your cover amounts will increase by CPI. So everything's going up by 3%. And traditionally within a lot of the CRMs, you either have to manually download individually from each insurer your client list to then upload that into your CRM to update fields. But what I was experimenting with was having the AI, when the email is received, the AI opens the PDF, reads the PDF, identifies all the different fields and the people, and goes into your CRM, finds the policy, updates each of those individual fields, and it does it automatically without you saying anything. And that's, for me, like a massive time saver, and it tidies up your book, right? Because everything's always up to date. And so that was the first test case to see, hey, can I connect it to my CRM and what can it do in there? And there's a bit of kind of complex stuff up front you got to do, but once you've got it set up, yeah, dude, it's next level. You can just one by one teach it each of these different admin tasks and we'll remember. So it's going to be pretty epic from that standpoint. So yeah, I've been pretty excited about that the last month or two, just like learning how it all works and the different pieces that make up those AIs. So you get like the out the box ones you get in Go High Level. And they're trained in, basic large language models. So they know a lot of general stuff, but you've got to train them on, your stuff. And then you can remove a lot of that wishy-washy shit and then just have it absolutely trained in on your processes, your documents, how you do things. And they become a lot more responsive.
Interesting. Yeah, because I keep asking advisors like how I could make their lives easier. Because the tricky thing is, like, I look at these different CRMs, maybe they're $1,000 a month. And then when you grow, you got to get a new license or whatever, like Trail and My CRM and Salesforce and HubSpot. Like, it just gets so expensive really quickly for an advisor that a lot of them don't make a great income until they're well into their journey. So it like stifles all the newbies. And with High Level, I can like plug in as many people as I want, cost me nothing. So I was like, well, and it can connect with all these different, like it's got an API, so I could plug it into anything. And I just trying to work out what the most painful parts of their job is. What do you think, if you could just automate away everything, what would be your hierarchy of need, like hierarchy of importance of the most boring jobs?
I think one of the things I learned this year, and I knew at the start of the year that I was going to focus on IT stuff within my business for future, right? So as you grow, you don't have to do that scaling up. You've got all those processes in place. And if you've got good automations, and now obviously AI essentially is automations that you can talk to. It's workflows that you can just reason with and chat with and direct through language. And that's, I think, the thing that most people don't quite grasp about it. They just know Chat GPT, and it's a cool thing to talk to, kind of replaces Google a little bit, helps you rewrite things and draft emails and that sort of thing. But that's shit. Like, that's just surface stuff. It doesn't even scratch what can be done. And if you're an early adopter in that piece, then you're going to do some pretty cool stuff. So if you build out a custom bot to solve a specific problem, then people will pay you for that. So there's an opportunity for me, if I build this solution, to white label it and, just as a pay per month service, it's going to save someone having to hire an administrator for 70 grand a year for a small, monthly cost. Little bit of customization up front, and then you're away. So from that aspect, so say for example you've got Go High Level with an API. Well, I can connect my AI to your Go High Level and get live updates on leads, and my AI can update you on the progress of that lead and the last communication and what stage they're at, the percentage chance of that becoming new business. Like, so it goes two ways. It keeps that communication level solid, and it's got its eyes over everything. So it's pretty solid there. I think the big thing with AI and customizing it, and what's changed, the terminology keeps changing, right? So they've gone from being called co-pilots to being called agents, from being called bots to something else. So all these companies changing the name of them, it makes everyone confused as well, because it thinks it's something different. But essentially the AI is just a program. It's a file, and it's got some knowledge built into it. So you can create workflows by talking to an AI to create your workflow. So the AI will build it for you, and you just talk to it and say, hey, I want this and I want it to do this, and it'll build it out. You can tell your AI, how you want it to talk, what kind of tone, all that sort of stuff. Then you can train its writing style. So most of the responses you get from the AIs when you say, hey, can you draft me an email? It's this formal, like, you just know it's AI written and it's shit, right? So I think that's the main thing. Whereas if you train it on 500 of your previous emails, it knows your writing style, and it will adopt that and start talking like you.
I wonder if I can train it to be dyslexic to make it more realistic.
You could say, every 15th word, make a minor spelling mistake.
Because But I mean, there's a lot of opportunity. Like I heard through the grapevine, there's quote monsters thinking about buying insurance companies and stuff because I imagine they're trying to expand what they do. But I was trying to get, I don't get the plan creation part. So you go to see a client, and I guess the quote monsters pulling an API of the up to date figures of the insurance part because I'd love to like replace them, like where I could just like someone just comes in. Everything's in the CRM. Maybe you take a transcript from the conversation, put that as sort of the summary of the personal circumstances and the justifications for the product, and then it all pulls it in a document, sends it, and then makes a video from the consultation or something like that. What is that process of? Do you use Quote Monster? Do you use something else? Like what's?
I use Quote Monster. I used to use Strategy as well, just having two different, because the way they value different features is different between the different comparison houses. But the guy that was running Strategy, I think he's somewhat unwell, and it's built on a really old platform. But what it spits out is just a big, 1-page layout of all the insurers and the small parts of their policy wordings compared. It's just visually nicer, whereas the Quote Monster one seems a bit simple, and it's quite hard for a client to understand. You just highlight, oh yeah, it's A+, 99%. Yeah, cool. It's got this, this, and this. This one doesn't have that, that, and that. So if I could connect Quote Monster's API, fuck yeah, that'd be awesome, right? So because then you could if you're working with a client on a live document, so let's say you've got a statement of advice, it's live, right? So you're working on it with the client. You're going through your recommendations, and if they want to change a cover amount, it will live update the price. That would be amazing. That would be a game changer for me.
How does it not do that? Do you have to like go away and then send it to them?
Yeah, so my AI can't access Quote Monster because it's got multi-factor authentication. So if you go to the website, you try and log in, it sends you a text message, then you can log in. I'll need to talk actually with Quote Monster and see if they have a REST API that you could link into, because that would be epic. And then, yeah, the rest of their stuff, pretty handy. They've got some cool tools in there, like, buy this insurance company, and they've got pre-built reports, like really complex ones that you can just put a hyperlink into on your statement of advice, and then someone can click on it and see the full readout, the insurer. So yeah, that linking in with Quote Monster would be a big deal for me.
Does the pricing matter? Like, do they pull live pricing and then you go to the insurance company and obviously it will be different because there's underwriting and
it's pretty accurate. I think there's some limitations, like when you click add-ons and that sort of thing. If your settings are all right, I think it's pretty accurate. But I don't know if it's just live linked to the insurers. What I do know is the insurers are really tight on having you link into their systems. Like, they do not want to be helpful. Or when you start saying API, they just glaze over and have no idea what you're talking about. So
okay,
that's not really encouraging.
So they don't want to share the up-to-date prices.
I think it's a security risk for them having someone link in to information, but with an API, you're just limited to what you're allowed to see in it. So I think there's some education needed on that part from the insurance perspective. I'm going to a roadshow tomorrow, so I'll hit them up and say, you guys are behind the times.
Yeah, catch up. So then how would Quote Monster do it? Are they pulling the prices are accurate? That's the only part I can't do. Like, because my mate, he started a software company, and it's basically a competitor to Sharesies, and also it's going to pull in everyone's live budgeting. So, because that was a big thing with an advisor, is like if you could have a snapshot of their net worth and where all their assets are, their savings, and gamify it and pull it all in, and then also have a cost-effective way for them to invest that you can put on some sort of fund manager oversight.
What's the name of that startup? Didn't they try and start in New Zealand, then they went to Singapore and launched it there, and now it's worth megabucks?
I don't know. Well, yeah.
All right. Yep. Cool.
But it's a good industry. Yeah. I mean, it's a type of, it loses a lot of money to run a platform like Sharesy, I think they're losing like tens of millions of dollars a year because they're trying to market, bring in more users, but the value of each client's not worth enough. But yeah, I was just like, I can get the justification of the product's not too hard. Like, I mean, there's not too much difference between product, really. I mean, in my opinion, it's more just like concepts, like should you get mortgage protection or income protection? Maybe should you have specific injury cover, or maybe you have non-pharmac funded drug. There's like that sort of stuff. But like fundamentally, the justification can be like a line, Why does it have to be?
Yeah, your justification could be, well, I've got a strong relationship with these guys and I've got good claims history with them. I trust them. I've got access to, senior managers to help in sticky situations. Like, if that's how you can justify the policy wording, this is how it compares against the market, so you do all your bits. And if you're following the core principles of giving advice in New Zealand, then you're fine, right? Due diligence and skill and all that jazz. And then you follow the 6-step advice process. If you can document it, then yeah, no dramas.
It's just the pricing part that's tricky, because that's useful to a client. Like, we used to use a plan writing tool where it was more of a pitch tool, but it also solved all their problems in front of them. And then you don't have to go away and create 3 different scenarios. And you fill it in, it projects their mortgage, their investment, and it shows like how that would move over the different, I guess, global financial crisis, bond crisis, how it would react in those environments.
One great tool Partners Life have got called Events, which does a really cool visual mapping of from now to retirement, and it shows the impact if you can't work. It shows the impact on the household income, and it shows colors that you're in the red if that happens, and so on. So it's a good visual tool, but it's a little bit clunky, and it's obviously marked around their products. So there's a lot of potential there. I think they're doing a bit of work on it, but I'd love to just be able to take bits from different things and piece them together. But I think there's a lot of development and IP behind all that stuff.
Do you need price in your consultation?
I think price is a guide to what to expect. I think if you put forward a recommendation of what they should have, most people would shit their pants. They'd be like, there's no way I can afford that. So I guess understanding and mapping out expectations to them, like, I'm going to present to you a recommendation of the covers you should have. It doesn't mean you have to take them, and it's likely it's going to be really expensive. The whole goal here is to work backwards from there to get something you're comfortable with from a cost perspective that still covers the things that are going to have a big financial impact on you, and sort of finding that middle ground. And then if they're feeling like they're in control while you're going through that process, they're more than likely to go ahead with it because they're making those small decisions. Whereas if you're telling them what to do, naturally you're going to hit some resistance. So that whole advice process is different for each advisor, right? But if the client feels like they're in control and they're making the decisions, you're just subconsciously guiding them to the one that suits them. Then it's a pretty good sales process.
Yeah, because they gotta be in control. Like, no one likes being sold. Like, people love buying, they don't like being sold to. The tricky thing, I'm wondering, like, why couldn't the plan be? So, like, I booked them with the advisor. Why couldn't the plan be, this is your goal, this is how you're going towards it, and these are the challenges that could happen, and you create a visual representation of that, and we recommend this product based on this, and the one-liners, and you got the policy wording, and then when you go to the application, that's when let me go to the company and find out some pricings for you for this particular company, or would you do multiple products?
This is why advice is so varied, right? Because you got to figure out what type of person the client is. Are they really detail oriented? Are they really direct? Do they just make decisions on the spot? And then you've got to sort of adjust your approach to match their personality style. And so it can differ between each client, because if you are letting them feel in control, then you've got to kind of adjust your style to fit them. So it's, as long as you've got a kind of a guideline that hits off all the legislative requirements, you're okay, right? The scope of service, all that sort of stuff. The recommendations are, I will recommend an insurer, and I'll justify why for whatever reason. They want health insurance, so it's going to be this one, or this one. And yeah, so I'll put forward an insurer that I recommend, and the comparisons showing the other insurers that are there too, and the pricing. But I don't really focus on the pricing personally. I'm like, look, they're up there. There's not too much difference between the top insurers. From a pricing perspective, there might be $20 or $30 a month or something between them. But these are the reasons why I think this insurer might be the best fit for you. And generally they're on board with it because you're the expert, right? So
do you give options of pricing for the one provider you picked? Like, here's the creme of the creme, here's the meat, like Goldilocks it?
Yeah, I'll do 3 different options, right? So I'll say, this is what I recommend. Here's a couple of guides on ways you can reduce premium if you wanted to. Things like wait period, payment period, versus stepped, and types of trauma cover, that sort of thing. Medical insurance. Medical insurance is a tough one at the moment because, I think across the board this year, 17% premium increase. And so people who are already pushed this year are like going, God, what the fuck's going on here? So you got to front foot that stuff and map out, hey, this is what's going to happen. You put this in place, medical insurance premiums are going to go up by this amount each year, not just for this company, for all of them. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, I think if you focus too much on price rather than what the product's doing, you kind of lose your way a little bit, because it's solving a problem that's going to cause you big financial harm. Or if you get sick, your chances of covering are a lot less. So this solves these problems. This is the cost to solve them all, but we can fine tune it to something that's affordable to you while we still cover off those things. So yeah, it's just a balancing act.
Do you go to the insurer for the price, or do you use the quote monster to present the price?
I'll go to the insurer and I'll do an official quote. That way it's saved, and a lot of them you can just go from the quote into an e-app. So it's easier to do it that way. But for a guideline, yeah, you could go to quote monster. I think the thing when you talk to a client, you present the options. The price isn't really a talking point, because you're saying to the client, look, these are the covers that I recommend you should have, but there's no guarantee you can get them. So the next step is to lodge an application to see what terms we can get. So at that point, when you're in a kind of selling meeting, you just say, hey, look, you're not actually buying anything right now. We're just asking the insurance company, hey, these are the covers we're interested in. What terms will you offer us? So then it's not such a commitment from their part, right? It's just the time of doing the application. You can make a decision once you get the terms back, and assuming they're happy with the terms, then you can issue the policy and they make that decision. But if you do these small incremental yeses, you've got a higher chance of getting it on the books. So I really stress that in that meeting where you're presenting those recommendations, that let's lodge an application and let's see what we can get, because there's no guarantee you can get any cover. And that way it's not a snow thing. You're just finding out what they can have.
Interesting. So I could build that. So I don't even need prices. So I could build something that talks about the concepts of the fundamentals of the different insurances, like life, leveled versus step, key person cover, shareholder protection. This could happen. Link it to their goals and whatever, make it more visual, more of a sales piece, and then a justification for the product recommendation at the end. So some way
the
to
justification
pull that.
Is, you said this was important to you. This solves that problem. And the risks of you not doing this are this. And so, rather than give a price, you can give a ballpark sort of figure, But I would say, so let's lodge an application or multiple applications to different insurers to see who will offer us the best terms. Then we make a decision on what covers we want based on the price.
And yeah, because I've changed everything to be in-person meetings just for a conversion rate. But you have like an iPad open that's a visual representation that you're pumping through, or a laptop, and you're showing them their life and how it pulls in, and then maybe you've got like a phone next to you that's recording using, Otter or whatever. It's transcribing everything. So you're doing the input part, because that's where you get cooked. Like, you need to get the numbers right. If you get the numbers wrong, or partner with my mate and he uses the API to pull in everyone's like financial situations, so there's minimal friction, because people don't do homework and they don't have the information always, and they're trying to think like, how much actually is the mortgage, or how much do I have in KiwiSaver? I don't actually know what you need to know. What do you actually need to know for insurance advice?
Depends on what your scope of service is. So that's why that document's really important, because you're outlining at the very beginning what you're going to do for them and what products you're going to compare. And so the scope of service determines how much depth you go into, because there's some advisors out there that will say their scope of service is based on a pre-built advice process based on 5 years of your household expenses or something like that. So this strategy is a 5-year strategy. We'll only advise on that. So if you outline exactly what you're going to do in your scope of service, then it's kind of black and white. And that's why that document's more important than most people kind of realize. It's just got this sort of templated general thing. I'll advise on life, this, and this, but you can kind of massage it to be a bit more tuned, and then you can build a process around that.
Yeah, I think a lot more love should be put into the actual value of the process. Like, I was interviewing a guy, he was getting a really high conversion of leads using Google Ads. And I was like, what's your pitch with the initial appointment setting? And he just said, I just did a disclosure statement. I was like, huh? That's boring. Why would they do that? But he basically, because he was saying that there was a whole lot of focus groups that were done to determine what people want to know and in what order. So he doesn't read it out, but he just says, hey, this is what it's going to cost. This is what to expect. This is my background. This is who I work with. And we're going to go away, pull it together in a report. And then if you want to go ahead, then we go ahead. So I did that. And yeah, the show up rate increased. The less I sold in the appointment, try to find some underlying belief, the more likely they were to show up. Because that's the whole game. It's like, how do you get both decision makers to show up to that first appointment?
Oh, it's not necessarily that they're both decision makers, right? So there's usually one that's the decision maker, and the other one will go with what that person says. So you got to win them over. But I think that approach that you're talking about is really good, right? Because you're managing expectations, and that person's making a decision almost instantly if they're going to work with you or not. So that first impression is really important. So if you can lay out, hey, this is how we work, this is what we do, and they go, yeah, okay, that relates. I can relate to that. That's cool. Then you're sweet. You're on board. Now just go through your process. And if it comes across as professional and, there's that collaboration in the process, then I think your percentage chances of getting it through the door are much higher.
Yeah, and I think I do a bad job. I think the industry does a bad job of actually the benefit of an advisor. It's like, it's a no-brainer. I don't even get like why there's even pushback. Like, I booked an appointment for a financial advisor recently, and the guy said, oh, I'm just going to go with what my cousin said. I'm like, what? You've got this financial advisor that has like a big list of the major insurance providers to pick from. Doesn't cost you anything more than if you went directly with the provider. But now you got someone that actually gives a fuck about. Well, they probably do, but you're more of a number. So it's like, people don't get. But yeah, I also know I used to be an advisor that was registered and wasn't qualified and only flogged the product that I was told to sell. So where do you think that comes from? Why do people think you guys are just, not useful?
It's like referrals, right? If you're referred by a client, then man, the chance of that business going through is high because your friend said you were good. So it's those people close to them that they trust. They will do what they say. It's just a human nature thing, right? So, I'll go with what my cousin says, because he gave me some advice on, some beers the other day, and they were really nice. So cool, like, he's a good dude. I trust him. But he's got absolutely no knowledge or experience on insurance. He's just got an opinion, but they value that opinion, So, again, that's relatability with the client. So you got to build this trust quickly. That's the art of advice, right? You've got to come across as you know what you're doing, and you're an authority or an expert in your subject matter. You're likable and you're professional, and primarily they like you. Because if you're awkward and weird, they don't want to do business with you.
No, I mean, and like you literally studied it. And there is complexity to it. I think the challenge is people think they get insurance, but they don't actually get it. But you can't say that, because it was the same thing with investment. It's like, I know you get it. I know you think, you're speculating in crypto and you had some good experience last time. I'm like, look, I'm not going to say I can beat crypto. All I'm going to say is it's the return of your money, not the return on it. I want to make sure you still have money in a few decades, and it's not in the bank losing money from inflation, and it's achieved the goals that you want. And I'm going to understate the returns that we get so that we actually over deliver and you actually achieve what you want. But
this circles back to the adoption of AI, because the amount of knowledge and skill it has is unrivaled. Like, you can't beat that knowledge set. So if it's trained in the right way, they could replace you. Like, from an investment standpoint, you can talk with it and say, well, what do you think about this, and it will know historically everything about that stock on the spot. No one knows all that stuff, and it will know patterns of financial markets, so it can make some predictions. Although predicting the stock market is impossible, but it can give you the information at hand for you to make the decision, and then feel good about it. So I think, it'll play a big part in the future. And to be honest with you, right now in the stock market, because I watch for patterns and numbers and whatnot, 80% plus of all the trades are done by AI. They're all algorithms, and they all trigger based on certain events, and they pump and dump, and they do all of these things with the outcome for that fund manager to get the most money returned to their investors. So if you as an individual are going to the stock market trying to play games, you're going to get fucked over.
Well, I would say you don't even need to play the game. You just own the market and leave it. The challenge is, like, the knowledge is easy. You learn it in a week. The wisdom of staying the course when your money's down by 30% is a bit different.
Emotional investing, that you can't get AI. You can't train that shit. It's just, I'm missing out. I didn't jump on Rocket Lab at the right time. Fuck. Now it's $25. Shit. I jumped out when it was $6. It's just.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think Money and You did a survey, and also Vanguard, which is one of the largest passive managed funds in the world, and they found between 3 and 4% increase in return because of the advisor's advice, but not because the advisor is good at picking stocks, just because people stayed the course, and it was based on what they were trying to achieve.
It's near on impossible to beat index fund like VOO, the Vanguard S&P 500 fund. You can play all the games you want across different stocks. Even the best, fund managers cannot beat the index fund on average. I mean, what my VOO's gone up something like 18% in the last 2 months. It's like,
or Trumpy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, but that's just the reality. I mean, we do talk about home bias, so there's no one country that outperforms the world. So the only thing, if people were wanting a bit more diversification, I might encourage them to go a bit more beyond.
Well, this isn't financial advice, but the New Zealand stock market is shit. There's very little activity, and the returns are placid. So
this is not financial advice. Yeah, well, let's move off it then. I'm not an advisor anymore, so I can't even. Well, am I a free agent? Don't know. I should start a trading course now, which is
just have a T-shirt with my disclosure statement on it, and just look.
Yeah, then you're fine. I mean, it's pretty easy. Like, hey, these are the 6 products I recommend, and I get commission. call this number if you want to complain on the back.
Yeah.
You could have it in your car and everything. So what's your approach to build this AI? Is there like a tool that exists that you use that, or you're trying to convince some human to do it for you? Or?
I don't know, I'd like to know how things work. So Azure AI Studio is probably the broadest one, especially if you've got an eye on white labeling something. It's got all the tools. You can choose the model you want to work with. You can build it from scratch. You can have pre-built large language models or small language models, which are not so broad in their knowledge, but they're very specific in a certain set. So that would be something really handy for financial services, and you just have knowledge of those things. You don't want to ask about, what antibiotic's going to be really good if I've got a staph infection. Like, you don't need to know that shit, and it clouds the responses you get. So you train it on the specific information. And I think when it comes to building an AI, rather than having one guy that you've just thrown all the stuff in, you'll have 20 or 30 all connected, but they will have knowledge in different areas. And so when you ask it a question, you've got topics pre-built, and you've also pre-built your entities. So it understands when you say this, when I say insurer or insurance company, I'm referring to these companies, and these companies have these products, and you can really refine its knowledge base. So when you ask it a question or you ask it to do something, it knows exactly what you want to do. So having 20 or 30 AIs built into one grand AI, if you like, or just have them pop up when you have a certain prompt. So ChatGPT is just the user interface of the intelligence that's behind it. But you can have 20 or 30 AIs behind that user interface that all have knowledge and skills in different areas. And that's what I'm doing.
What enables it to interact actively? So I get the whole, you put this in here and then it responds with this. How do you actually get it to do stuff and go on an adventure on your computer?
So it's triggers, right? So in the past, it's around prompt. So you can tell it a prompt, and so you can edit your AI. So you give it a prompt or you ask it to do something, and then it'll pop up with what's called a card, an adaptive card, and a card will have suggested prompts to go further into what you need it to do. It's like, I want to do this for the insurance company. It will come back saying, which insurance company? You click on it, and that'll activate a different AI that's trained in that insurance company's knowledge. And then you do this task. I want you to do this and update this. Well, that pulls a different AI that updates that for that particular product. So you've got all these skills and knowledge sets within your user interface, and it can achieve whatever you want. You've just got to train it in those things. So, yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so you set up a workflow, there's a particular type of trigger, and then you decide on what thing that's been trained or what model is appropriate for that trigger. And then the outcome, is the outcome words? Is the outcome, like, how creative have you seen in terms of like what's possible?
Outcome do you want?
Cool. Well, like, apart from, like, could it make audio? Could it make video? Like, you only really need text.
Are you typing to this AI, or are you talking to it live? Because that's an option too.
Yeah, okay, so that's crazy. That's interesting. Okay, well, I'm trying to think of a use case. Okay, so let's say you go to see someone there and the video is being recorded, and you need to find the key moments. We explain parts of it and then take out aspects of that to highlight the product recommendations, and then you need it to pump out the pricing, and it can pull from APIs. I don't know. I'll just give you an example, but like,
is currently what I'm doing.
Yeah, because you record videos and stuff as explanations of things. Do you think it's possible to make it completely custom each time the person comes through, or something? That would get weird.
Yeah. You can now screen record and show the AI what you want to do. So you move your mouse, you click on that, and say, I want you to take that and do that and that, and it will know what you're doing because it's got OCR, and it will see what you're doing, and it'll build your workflow based on what you showed it you want it to do.
OCR? What do you mean? It's got
optical recognition.
okay.
So like reading a picture and taking context from that picture, or extracting text from the picture. The capabilities are next level, and they're releasing more and more stuff. So triggers before used to be from a prompt, but your trigger to start something now could be, I receive an email from this person or this company. That's the trigger to turn on the AI to complete a task. If the subject line has this in it, this. So find that, form that, build me that document, and email it to me. Thanks.
Actually, so does the insurance company, like, let's say you got a client, they've got a particular product. Does the insurance company update you on something, either an increase in premiums or the change in product or something, and you need to put that into your CRM? Is that what you were saying before?
It's one of the main tasks that's my proof of concept build. So yeah, do that. Yeah. So any premium changes, but then of course my product update AI will, whenever I get an email that's updating a product description or something like that, well, that'll need to be updated in the AI, but I've got an AI to do that for me. It will update the wording on that particular product in that particular AI. So you've got like 30 different terminators doing stuff for you in the background.
So if you've got 100 clients, are you getting 100 emails about them every year or whatever, about their product and their premiums?
Yeah, well, policy anniversary, absolutely. You'll get 100 policy schedules through. And rather than just attach the PDF to the CRM and then get your admin person or someone in the Philippines to update all your fields, there's still human error there. And B, well, you're paying them per hour for that. So it's automated and automatically up to date to the day. I think that's a better way to run your business. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Because it wouldn't, I don't imagine that'd be that hard. I mean, the challenge would be, hopefully they have like some sort of customer number in the email.
Most of them have the policy number or the name, but that's enough to find them.
Just if you have too many John Smiths.
And if the AI is unsure, we'll just message me and go, hey, which of these clients is this particular one for? And I go, oh, that one. Cool. Finishes it off.
Yeah, no, that's the saying. Yeah, because it'll come in, you extract it, you populate it. Do you need to do anything with that? Do you like send them an email, hey, just to let you know this is what's happening? So you're like the middleman to the email, or do they get it?
No, so they'll get their schedule posted to them, right? And you get emailed a copy of their PDF schedule, for example, and then it's on you as the advisor, right? You got to contact them for a review. So if I've got an automation where those things get updated, then once that's updated, that triggers my review email to be sent, asking if they want a review, and whatever else is in there. Has anything changed in your situation? Hey, we're missing some fields for you. Would you mind just updating us on this, this, and this, so you can keep your CRM clean and up to date? And then if they don't respond, which often clients don't, but then that triggers a text message to them. If they don't respond to the text message, then a task's created to call them. If they don't pick up the call, then on their anniversary date, you've got a pre-built policy summary that gets sent to them. These are the covers you have. This is how they work. This is why it's great. You might be short on a few things. Reach out if you need anything. It's all done.
And so you have an escalation. So you always want to end up a call if they don't engage with you.
Well, then you've got evidence that you've really attempted to contact the client. And even if they haven't responded to you, you still sent them some information of why their insurance is so great.
And because I could build like so when the anniversary comes in, you extract the extracting. I'm not too sure about that, but when it comes in,
it's not easy.
Yeah, the extracting would be hard, but when it's time, I could train a bot that could talk to them WhatsApp, Messenger, send them texts and an email, and then create tasks if they don't respond. I could create that workflow, which is interesting.
Yep.
Because I keep thinking everything's cool because no one wants to talk to you about insurance. So best thing to do is just call all of them.
But you got to be present and visual, right? And then if some other pesky advisor comes in to try and pinch your client, and you've got some pretty impressive processes and documents, when that person comes in and tries to wrangle your client away, they're going to go, well, I don't know, that looks a bit shit. I'll talk to Marcus. The reality is you don't 100% get on with all of your clients. Some of them are disloyal as fuck. Some of them are really price sensitive. It's just, that's the nature of the game, right? You're not going to get on with everyone. So if someone comes along and sounds convincing, they're going to go along with them. So that's just business.
Yeah, no, it's fair. What's another process that's the bane of your existence? So plan creation and making it more visual and engaging and easier, and then policy anniversaries and populating, and then reaching out to clients. Is it all about claims or something, or what's another?
Claims is an easy one too, right? Well, that's the same thing that I'm building out with a claim. Because claims can be ongoing, and especially medical ones. So if it's the claim number, so you can build in workflows, because if you lodge a claim and then nothing happens, the claim's still open for 12 months. So then you've got to have some kind of automation, or if you can remember it yourself, where it's saying, hey, just a reminder, this claim's closing. Or every time you get an email from the claims department saying, we paid this provider this for your client, we paid the anaesthetist, we paid the surgeon, and keeping a track of that. So your AI can basically pull that data, put it into that claim file, and then you've got analytics where you can then look at your book and go, well, how many claims have I had this year? Okay, which insurers? What's the split between the insurers? What's the split of claims between products? What's the total value of claims? You've got all this data that is just like next level that you can pull. And I mean, that's just unreal. Most people don't track claims like that. They just track a claim if it's open, if it's closed, or if there's any documents required. You can have workflows where you do a weekly update of the claim, what's outstanding and what's needed. And so if that weekly update's somewhat automated, you're not technically bugging them for that form to be done or something like that. You've got a process where they feel, okay, cool, that's under control. They're not reaching out to you going, oh, what's happening with this? So you're taking it by the balls the whole way through. And that's your job as an advisor, right? At claim time, that's where we prove our worth. So if you've got a really robust process that's really informative and collects a lot of data, then maybe further later down the track, the client's looking at cancelling their policy, and you can pull up some pretty cool data on all the claims they've had and how much they've been paid in claims over the years. It's all there at your fingertips. And I'll just ask my, hey, I got a meeting with this client. Can you help me prepare? They're thinking about cancelling their policy. What can we find some claims data and come up with some reasoning why they should hold on to this policy? And it will pull from all your data, all the stuff you need, because that's your retention AI. And then it will do the stuff you need it to.
That's insane. Yeah, because I was just thinking claims so the software can transcribe calls and it can sync in the email. So you could have a trigger of the claim. So it's either a phone call, transcription, or you put it into an opportunity, which is these are the different stages that need to happen. And each time either you call regarding that contact, because I guess if you're chasing up a claim, you need to do emails to the insurance provider or make calls. Is it mostly calls?
Depends. I think it's mostly emails for sending off documents and stuff like that. Calls are more around when you've got a differing opinion to the claims team, or they're not paying for something or something like that. So I think, it's a combination. But
do you ever have to go with the client to get the documents or whatever? Like, what's the biggest hang up with a claim usually? because they're in a bad way.
Waiting for medical notes, an urgent claim, and then to assess the claim, the insurer requests medical notes, but the event, like the surgery or the appointment, is in 5 days. The doctor's turnaround time is 4 days. And then there's a queue of 7 days with the insurer. You're just like, so phone calls are good for adding extra pressure or escalating to someone you know within the company, that sort of thing. So it's just down to each individual situation.
So the biggest barrier, like the client getting the documentation from someone else as opposed to the client doing the homework, are they usually quite motivated to? I mean, they're really
the client can be
sick.
motivated, but again, it's down to their personality type. Some people are just like out of sight, out of mind. So you send them an email saying, "Hey, we need this." They read the email, then they forget about it, and then you chase them up 5 days later, and so on and so forth. So, you can follow. And if they're not responsive on emails, that's why text messaging is useful, because people are always on their phones. If you send it, "Hey, just a reminder, we need that form," that triggers 4 days later if that requirement hasn't been met. So you can you can go granular on these things, and mapping out your own processes is quite a challenge in itself, but it's very revealing. And so dream it up, man. The reality.
You can do so much. I've never actually, because my biggest thing is I just need to get more people more motivated with more money in front of advisors. So that's always the biggest priority. Like the automating of their processes. I'm not booking them to an extreme amount of appointments now where they're drowning in work. That's the bottleneck.
That's where the automations and AI can actually help, so you don't get overwhelmed. If you can map out your process and then have automated follow-ups and kind of a guide to help you along, then the only bottleneck is you kind of creating an SOA, but that in itself can become simpler. It's quite tough to give all the information, and it's coming up with the right look and feel because it's always changing. I find that bit quite challenging to the SOA side of things, and the questioning leading up to the SOA. That's like the holy grail, that part, the needs analysis and the recommendations be thorough, but also automated to a certain extent. It's quite challenging.
Yeah, I think I'll just focus on the process that leads to them getting their first client, making that really easy. And then down the line, because if I can build a software, charge them $97 a month or whatever, or maybe when their clients don't charge them anything. But anyways, we've done a podcast, so thanks for coming on, mate.
Yeah, all good.